All right. Cool. All right, so we'll call order 7:03 p.m. And then first up, we actually have Catherine from Trails Committee, so I'll bring her over. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, so Tim's actually over at BOS covering us there tonight on the agenda. So but you've got us, and yeah, it's all you. So take it away.
Great, so I just have a couple slides, if you don't mind, that I share.
Yep.
I just need to make sure I'm going to share the right screen. So give me just a second to figure that. I think it's that one. Okay, let me know when you see a beautiful map of Southborough with our.
We can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so tonight, I appreciate the time to present in front of REC. I know we only have a few minutes. Essentially what we want to do, the Trails Committee is looking to pass or put forward at town meeting an article in the warrant to convert from an ad hoc committee to a standing committee. And so one of the reasons why is the definition of an ad hoc committee is typically a committee that's formed for temporary or project basis and then dissolved. So we've been around for 9 years and hopefully have proven effectiveness over those years. And we're going to stick around and continue to build trails when possible and maintain trails that we have in town. So this bylaw helps make the committee a little more permanent and clearer responsibilities and a little bit more flexible of an organizational structure. The charter, the Trails Charter, was updated last fall. And what we did was we presented in front of the select board and asked if we could amend the charge to reflect a little bit more about what we do. So promoting trails in addition to maintaining trails and building trails. So we added a little text to the language. And then we also added a non-voting associate to, well, a couple, actually it's not limited. So an associate member, a non-voting member to the committee. And so part of what the bylaw will do is continue what we've already put in place. So that was passed in November. We have 2 members currently serving in that role. It's going really well. And so the bylaw will put all of this, in a formal way. And it also adds a budget for the Trails Committee, and that helps increase transparency. So all of that information is kind of managed through the town, which you're very familiar with. The associate members, just to talk a little bit about this, we did get this process approved by town council. So we started the conversation, well, years ago, but put it into formal words this last year. So we talked to the town council and made sure everything was going to work out as we had hoped. And so we put the charge in place in November and then had a couple of members serving in that role since December, and it's been going really well. And basically there's a few advantages to associate members, and a few of them include, some say, why don't you just have volunteers, and use those? But if you've ever organized volunteers, which I'm pretty sure all of you have worked with them, you recognize that, being on a committee is a little bit more of a commitment. But associate members gives the flexibility of not having to be full-time committee member. So say you want to kind of try out the trails, or you want to try out and see how it's going. You don't have full-time. So this is an opportunity to get more residents involved in trails, but not having to fully commit to the full thing. It's an opportunity to try it out in case they, want to continue on. And they also familiarize themselves with the committee work. So say we have an absent, a member that needs to resign. We have a couple people that are already familiar with the what's going on with the committee. And obviously maintaining trails, the Trails Committee is one of 3 committees in town that does manual labor outside of our monthly meetings. So having a couple of extra hands is really helpful, especially during summertime and when people are taking vacation. And that's really the time when a lot of our maintenance needs to be done. So we have this extra set of hands, which is really useful. We can leverage, people with unique skill sets like marketing and video development. If they can't attend the meetings in full every year, all year long, they can at least help on a small basis. So it really expands the opportunities for who can help. And then like we've talked a little bit about, it helps with the institutional knowledge. So the more people you have trained in understanding, if you have turnover, you're more likely to keep that information and kind of within the committee. And then I think most of you are familiar with the committee members we currently have. So I've been serving as chair, and Satyendra Sharma, Isabella Murphy, Tom McCoolier, Isabella Bogdansky, and Will and Tony are the two newest associate members. So yeah, so we're here just to, let you know about the bylaw, get some feedback from you if you have any thoughts on the bylaw and what you think about moving forward. And, obviously we would ask for your support. So open to questions.
This is Christina Ball. I apologize, I'm not on camera yet. I think this is great. So my only question is, I love the idea of the associate. So my only question is, does anyone object to this and why? Have you received any pushback, and what would that be?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have actually, and I understand. So when we went through the process with the select board, some of the concerns were open meeting law was one of the big ones that came up. These non-voting associate members aren't necessarily required to abide by open meeting law because open meeting law focuses on voting members. So how do you control that? So what we did was we created a policy. I don't have it up here, but we created a member conduct policy to ensure and to make sure that all of the committees were aware, all the members were aware of what open meeting law and conflict of interest is. They're all required to get the training and go through it. And then the onus is put on the voting members to ensure that they do not do any serial deliberation. That's one of the concerns, is that you might speak to this person, you might speak to that person. So we try to do some due diligence by understanding what the concerns were and then putting a policy in place. So that's what we've done for that.
All right, thank you. I was about to say, but I'm a non-voting member on the master plan committee, but I'm from recreation, so I do automatically obviously have to do all those activities. Right. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
so you're considered an ex officio, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that, except these people don't have to be representing another organization. They do happen to be other committee members, so they are also trained in, but that's just a byproduct of their volunteerism.
Are you, sorry, last question, Dawn and Jen, and I'll shut up. Are you seeking support, like support to be able to use at town meeting from the various commissions like ours?
Yeah, I think that would be beneficial. So what we're doing is we're meeting with town council again tomorrow to review the bylaw to ensure that things are, the language is the way it needs to be, and it's going to go through another review cycle, I think. And so, yeah, we would be looking for the commission's support. If they were open to, if you're not prepared tonight to do a vote, obviously you can take some time and think about it. If you questions come up, certainly feel free to reach out. We're happy to talk about it. And this is something that we feel passionate about because it's come up for a few years, this opportunity that we've thought about. And then we wanted to really find a way to make it work. And this past year, we had a full committee and a couple people came forward and said, hey, we'd like to join the committee. And we were full. And I was like, well, let's not pass this opportunity up. How do we make this work for everybody? And so the best part about it is this isn't new. Associate members it's been executed in other communities like Ashland and Weston. And we actually modeled our policy after Weston's policy because they have a wonderful, and they use it on non-regulatory boards and commissions because this model may not work for every board or commission. So, but for Trails Committee, and for example, Ashland uses it for Town Forest. I think there's a Rail Trail Committee that Weston uses it for. Those types of committees it really works well for. And everyone had the same positive feedback. Like, it's great to have these extra set of hands, especially when maybe it's a busy season and other people are not available. And yeah, so it's worked elsewhere. We're not recreating the wheel, and we are really excited about the opportunity to be able to make this continue, if possible.
Yeah, that's really helpful background to know that you're modeling it after towns that are successful. So thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no questions. I feel like we've been, I mean, and I know financially we've been kind of pushing this to get you guys your own budget line just to give visibility and to give you that bandwidth also. I have no additional questions. I think the one thing, like, I know they're working on like your final wording. So I think once we have that final wording, we can take an official vote. So then like we can send you the letter of like, you know, the commission voted, or we whatever way it ends up being. But yeah, we can get that to you, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anything comes up, you know, just as you think about it, because we're just now planting the seed that, you know, there may be a problem here or there or something, we're really open to working through all of those and making this work. So certainly feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
Great.
Do you have any questions, Dawn, or?
I don't have any questions, Jen.
No. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much
thank
for
you.
your time, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And you guys have a great meeting.
All right, thanks.
Yep. For everything you guys do.
Bye-bye.
All right. Next up, we're going to talk to Activitas. So let me move them over. I see Kelvin.
Hey everyone,
How are you?
good. I think we're waiting for Meg.
Okay.
Is she in the waiting room?
I see a Patrick McGuire. That's
Yeah,
right?
that's her. That's her.
That's her? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think it was just
No, that's fair. That's
thing.
fair. I've done that before. Different people log in different computers. So I'm not sure. Cool. Hey, there you
Hi,
are.
everyone. Do a quick name change. Not to confuse
No
everybody.
problem.
Let's
My
see.
10-year-old son has been on the name on my committee meeting. So
Yeah.
I have logged into work before and it says like town of Southborough. So cool.
All right, here we go. All right, so first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone for inviting us back. We had a wonderful time working with you all on the turf study project, and we're excited to work with you on this project, looking at the Parkerville landfill. So if I can share my screen, which I think I can.
You should have permission.
Pull up. There we go. All right, great. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So very similar to last time around, this meeting is our kickoff. Our goal is to really sit back and listen and to hear from you folks about, what we need out there and kind of what is going on out there now. What do you want to see changed? And then we'll talk a little bit about, some different things that we can do. So again, I am Meg Bazinski with Activitas, and I have Kelvin Hoying with me as well. Let's jump right into programming. We'll look a little bit about the existing site and then just talk about, goals and requirements moving forward. So here we are, we have Miri Elementary, kind of page left, and then we have Parkerville Road running north-south to the right of the existing fields. We understand that these fields are built on a capped landfill, that are existing natural grass now. We can see it's very long, kind of narrow space. And from talking with Tim, we understand that, there's been some issues, or there are some issues with, undulations in the field surface, that has to do with settlement of the landfill over time. The way we see kind of this project is we understand that, there may not be the need for all of this space solely for athletic purposes, right? So you have your natural grass fields kind of throughout, but what could we do to potentially program other needs out there, you know, especially for that side of town? Some of the challenges, you know, that we could see here is one, obviously it's the landfill, right? So we may be limited with what we can do to the ground surface. And I should say we are limited in, it just gets expensive, you know, as we start to do anything to a landfill. There's going to be some very specific requirements about what we can do and how we kind of need to handle that surface. And that can be anything from, you know, are there possibilities for kind of decreasing settlement of the landfill over time? How do we go about maybe fixing the surfaces? And then depending on what the additional programs are, how do those site elements affect the landfill cap as well? I should say we are partnering with Hailing Aldrich. Hailing Aldrich is an environmental consulting firm. So they're going to assist us. They're not going to do too deep a dive into the landfill documents, because I'm sure there are a lot. But they're going to provide us with some information just to say, as we get into designs or potential schematic designs, you know, what does that mean? What does that mean from kind of cost implications to permitting implications, which always, you know, they both have, can result in time and money. So we want to make sure that anything we do propose in the end is something that the town of Southborough can actually move forward with. So from here, I'd really like to open it up to you folks. You know, tell me a little bit about the program that you guys would like to see out there. We've heard a little bit about dog park, potentially about maybe some, you know, more passive recreation. So I'd love to hear from you folks, just for, you know, what programming have you talked about in the past? Anybody?
Kick it off.
Sure.
No. All right. So we've so I feel like a dog park is something that comes up over and over and over in town. It pops up here and there. I know it's popped up on surveys. I even saw it again somewhere else recently. With some of the federal funds and stuff like that. It's also popped up there. I saw it come through, people suggesting they use it for that. So I think one of our questions, and we've seen some other dog parks pop up around in neighboring communities, and like wondering like, what are the options for, like, a part of it could be that. And then could we also build in some like tables, or I don't know, like, you know, like make it like a destination place that they could go, right? Like, so do it up more than just putting a fence around grass for the dogs. So we were seeing some stuff like that locally that was like, it looked really nice. Have no idea what we'd be looking at for cost there or what the options would be. I know that we don't do a ton of programming up on that field, but we do use it here and there. And it's also like, it's nice to have as like overflow, or if we need it for something, or to like, if a game is needed to be rescheduled, you can move kids to practice up there instead and give a different field for a game. So I think it would be more of like practice area for multi-use or for groups. I do think the fact that you can only like access it from those two like points on the street, I think are a little bit odd, especially where the vast majority of parking is actually going to be over at the school, like where you, like the parking lot that you see on the map here, like, I think it's just like a handicap pullover. It's not like a full parking lot. Or you could park, I guess, potentially on the street there.
Yeah, you're right. It's not built for parking, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like a pullover, and I'm pretty sure, for some reason, I think it's marked as handicapped also. So I think we'd have to figure out, like, could we have other like egress points, or like, how do we get people in there?
I think people find their way up there. I understand that point, Jen, but people find their way up there. Like, maybe you could open up the corner that's closest to the parking lots versus the corner furthest away. But you have to be mindful of the drop, and that's where, you know, that's a hill. You can't necessarily see it from here, but that's a hill.
Yep.
You know, I think we've talked to that there had been some work done, and I don't know if the study that was done, I think a few years back, was shared with you with some of the findings on on the field.
They were,
But yeah, so were they not?
They were. I do have that
Okay.
study, yes.
So the findings found that, I think, broadly speaking, that some work needs to be done if you want to bring at least certainly portions of the field up to sort of athletic field quality, if you want to, for lack of a better term, right? And so one of the questions is, hey, you know, do we need to do that, or could we? Obviously, if you want to have an athletic field, it needs to be flat for just about all the sports, but perhaps the north section of the field, the top in this image, could be retained for use for smaller fields, rugby, you know, that kind of lacrosse, whatever. And the southern portion, which is where I think, and it might be like the southeastern section, might be where the most repair work would be required, or the most sort of like undulation is. Could that section be used for something? Because the dogs don't care if it's, you know, a little bumpy. And maybe the you don't have to grade it to perfection for a dog park as you might otherwise grade it for, you know, a playing surface for safety purposes. So that sort of was plugged in. And then otherwise, I agree with, you know, the other comments, like, you know, small dog section, large dog section. Some, you know, we were looking at some of the work that was done in Framingham recently that looked pretty extensive. I don't think we're necessarily in for that level of, you know, pizzazz, but presently this is sort of one of the de facto dog parks in town. So we'd be formalizing it a bit, I think, because this is definitely a go-to for many folks, especially with the work that's been previously done on our track and some of the other areas where we you know, we ask people not to bring their dogs.
Yeah, the only thing I would add that hasn't been covered is Kristen, and I don't know if size would permit, I guess we're looking for that answer. As part of it is that there's not a lot of flat park walking surfaces in Southborough. It's, I think, limited to our track and to the cemetery for our senior citizens. So I think the first, you know, if it, on the perimeter, some sort of, you know, path could go around as well to serve as a walking path, that would be great. Because again, we just don't have a lot of that for not just our senior citizens, anyone, you know, who would have trouble walking on hills or unflat surfaces.
Okay. Great.
Hi guys.
How about,
So-
hey, Tim.
If I could just jump in, and it kind of goes off of what Kristen just said too. And Meg, I see you have a bullet point of that ADA piece of this entire site. I believe I sent you it from past with our last study we did. But you know, the committee for ADA is very active again, and they're looking into really implementing these changes when it's possible. And the fact that we'll be breaking ground on this in some, hopefully in some light, I think is going to trigger the idea of an ADA requirement. So I think when we're looking at design of this, I don't want to say a priority, but a big piece of it should possibly be addressing the ADA and the access issue, especially if we're going to be improving the site to attract more people. So I guess just keeping that in mind, but I agree with everything else Jen and Don and Kristen have said since I signed on.
Yes. I think I would say there's no desire for lighting there.
No.
Yeah, none.
Zero.
Just make that really clear. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think there's already like street lamps and stuff like that around there. So like that might be just one of those things as we go in there for ADA compliance, like visibility or whatever, but nothing for this site in particular. No.
Okay, perfect. How about, you know, we have some kind of, these two don't quite apply, but we have some kind of, you know, precedent images. Is there, you know, we have the dog park in the middle, and like you said, maybe nothing quite this formal, as you mentioned, but certainly something that's fenced, you know, as you mentioned, the kind of separating large dogs and small dogs and signage accordingly. You know, walking paths, like you said, whether that's asphalt or some sort of stone dust. We will want to think, as Tim mentioned, about the ADA access, because you don't want to provide that path, you know, at the top, but people really can't get up there, you know, to use it. So we'll have to think about that. Any need for, you know, any shade structures or, you know, benches around the site as we think about, you know, a potential walking path? Is there a desire for some additional benches, people to sit, whether they're watching, you know, the grass field because their kids are playing over there, or, you know, just throwing out other ideas like, you know, fitness pads, things like that?
I think the benches would be nice if the dog park, you know, was there, and or the walking trail. I just would be conscious not to sacrifice too much space to either the field or the dog the dog park, because it seems like that's where we're probably most heavily leaning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I would say that with, I think that looking at this as more of a multi-purpose facility, I think is what we're streaming at.
Mhm.
I think for benches and maybe picnic tables, I think it could be a good idea. I don't know if we have to go full-blown pavilion, as nice as it would be. I think that opens up a can of, you know, pouring asphalt and footings and all that stuff. And who knows what happens when you go 2 inches under the grass right now. But I think, you know, definitely benches and tables, and offering that, you know, a different seating area with a different view in town.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, I mean, I don't know, would we be able to plant like trees and stuff like that on the dog park side? Just wondering if there's something there that would actually like naturally provide shade, or if that would interfere with the cap as well.
I have to look at the details and talk with knowledge about what the thickness of that cap is, because I mean, it's one thing to disturb the cap. It's also another, depending on how thick of the surface we have above that cap, can roots
Yeah.
really grow.
Okay.
So something that we can certainly look into, but we can put it on the list as, you know, a desire if it's possible.
Yeah, I was like, because that would give us the natural shade eventually, right? Or grow into it or something like that. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I know this is kind of a short kickoff meeting, but I think we understand what you guys want to look for the program. Our next steps are going to be to actually go out to the site and look around, get a little bit more base map information just from GIS. We can understand those grades, because that will be important, especially for the accessibility aspect
Hey,
of
Meg.
this.
Meg, just
Yeah.
one more thing. Sorry, I can't remember if you brought it up or not, but it's come up, like, on-site water. Just whether that's an option. Again, that might be something because of the cap, but I think on-site water is sort of a thing, especially for like a dog park.
Mhm. And Don, are you thinking more of kind of irrigation washdown water, or are you
No,
thinking
no,
drinking
like,
water?
no,
Drinking.
drinking water.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can certainly look at that. And yeah, and like you said, it will get into the cap because there's going to be costs associated with it. But I mean, anything's possible. So we can certainly take a look and see what it means.
And I'll just go back. I think I signed out a little late when you were talking about parking on Parkerville. That inlet is more of a turnaround. It's more treated
I
as
wonder.
a drop-off.
Yeah,
Drop
there's
off.
like a handicap sign there or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you're
Yeah, and it's
saying.
more treated as a drop-off turnaround when people actually practice there. Expansion of that really isn't, I think, an option. And then parking on Parkerville is looked down upon greatly by the neighbors. So I think, you know, the parking of this field takes place at Neary because use of the field is always after school hours. So that's never really been an issue.
Okay. And, you know, in the photo, I mean, the aerial, we're seeing a lot of parking along this edge. Is that where you see most people going, or are they actually going in the parking lot?
A little bit of both.
Further by the school?
It depends on the season. You know, if we have a, you know, a club team of college kids who want to rent the field, they park wherever they want. It's usually right there, just because it's you know, it's the quickest to the entrance. When we're doing organized
Sure.
events, when we do have bigger, you know, as Jen mentioned, it's a kind of an auxiliary overflow field. So that if we have organized sports, they are directed and they do park at Neary, and they do walk up the sidewalk because there's a sidewalk present, and then they go in that kind of northeast side entrance to pop up there. So, and then the cars on the side too, you'll see the 3 tennis courts and pickleball courts right there. It could also be overflow for that. So proximity to it. So.
Great. Well, good. Well, I think that's really everything I have. I mean, like I was saying, our next steps are going to be to start drawing up some plans, visit the site. I think probably for our next meeting, what are we, the odds of March right now? So looking sometime mid-April, most likely, to look at some plans for review and get feedback, and then we can start to bring that in. And my goal is to get H&A to really kind of do their review of the surface so we can say, we can understand what's a yes and what's a no from their, point of view. So we'll be good shape there. Any other thoughts or comments before we sign off?
Just for me, thank you for taking this on again.
Yeah,
hanging out with us.
absolutely. No, we appreciate the opportunity. We're excited to be back, and yeah, we look forward to giving you guys some good designs for this. So, and as always, any questions or if you think of something, in between, please email it over to Tim, and he'll send it to us, and we can add that in for consideration.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks
Thank you.
everyone. Have a great night.
Good
Have a
to see
great
you guys.
night.
I guess.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Hey,
Sorry about that.
Hey, Tim.
no problem.
I still haven't gone yet. So, but I wasn't
Oh.
going to wait around
Jeez.
because
Okay.
they brought in Karen and they're talking about water rates and road projects. So I said, text me when I'm up. So
That
maybe
works.
quick recess. They're hearing 5 articles tonight. We're 2 of them. And I asked if they could put us at the end of that as well in hopes I can get as much in here before we have to potentially do a recess or something. So
Um,
can I ask how it went with Kat?
oh, well, yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm not surprised by any of it. So we told her once we get the final wording, we can take a official position and give her a note. So,
Cool.
yep. All right. Any general updates on summer registration, winter programming?
So much going on. I made a list, so I'm just going to go down the list. I came prepared tonight. So summer programs, like we talked about last time, are all sold out when it comes to summer camp. We actually increased the number based on what we were seeing with staff. So we were able to take up to an additional 5 campers each week, and those filled right away, obviously. Our wait lists are nearing in the 30s pretty much across the board. So we're seeing the demand. So we're excited we were able to fill up a little more and take a few extra kiddos each week. Hiring for summer is in progress. We're collecting camp counselor applications. They are coming in a little slower than previous years. I think that's felt across the board in every profession. But the good thing is that they're coming in. So we are going to continue to take them probably for about another month, and we plan on doing interviews April break. We're going to try to get all the kids in because most of them are late high school, juniors, seniors. So we'll try to get them in around April break. We did have a vacancy in the camp director, camp supervisory position, but we actually filled that last week. We promoted a 4th year counselor who expressed interest to us at the end of last summer and took it upon himself to follow up a few times as the school year progressed. His name's Aaron. So we brought him in, and the girl, the 3 other directors actually came in as well. So we kind of did a late night session at the office, sat down with Aaron for about an hour, had a really blunt, really open conversation with him, and it was really good. So we're excited to have him on. So we're done in the supervisory positions, which is most important. And we'll just start rolling on camp counselors. We had a really good take comparative to other towns of returners, of kids who want to come back. So that was really good. We have a really good base. So we still have a good amount to fill. We're probably looking 5 to 10 to fill, but we were expecting much more than that. So we're happy regarding that. Outside of camp, one of our programs that sold out instantly was the Ninja Warrior summer program that I introduced last summer. We were able to work it out with the company and add another week. So we're going to be doing a 2nd week of that, and we have about 12 spaces left. So that's almost sold out now as well. So we're really happy about that. We introduced a inclusion focused sports program. So it's a 4-month program broken out by different sports, more focused on kids with disabilities and learning differences when it comes to sports. It's a company called Inclusion Sports that we met at one of our regional meetings, and we were impressed, and we were able to figure out how they would fit into kind of a role in our town. So starting in May, every Saturday through August. They're going to be hanging out with us over at Miri, and they're going to be focusing on a sport a month, which is going to include track and field, football, soccer, and baseball. The difference is that they don't go about it in a classic coaching way. They take it from a whole different lens to try to teach the kids the roots of the sport, but in a very, very non-competitive setting. So we saw a good initial take with registrations on that. We're working with different organizations through the schools to get the word out to the parents, but it is also open to anybody in town, anybody interested who's looking to learn about these sports, and again, being a very non-competitive, more fun-focused environment. So we're excited for that one. So that's new and that's going. Track and field is starting up soon. Our schedule is just about finalized. Joe's just about done with that. Just like everything else, transportation is the only big question mark right now. We're trying to figure out, but we do have a schedule. We are going to be back competing against different schools in our area. And we're also going to be adding in Fay once again. They're going to be working with us to do a couple in-town meets as well. So we're looking at 4 to 5 track and field meets. So we're good there. Delaney is going to come back as the head coach, and she actually just was able to track down a potential assistant coach. So we'll be hoping to get her in soon for an interview, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that goes well so we can round out that piece of the program as well. Just little quick hits. Our babysitting programs are selling out like crazy. We just added another one, so we'll announce that this week, I believe, to try to we wanted to fit one in before the summer. It's been super successful. We added 2 other sessions of ice skating lessons because of the take that we had of the first one. And we saw identical numbers. So I think close to 50 people are enrolled in our ice skating lessons for a second session. So that's great. Our
Sorry,
softball.
how many? Did you say 250 people registered?
50.
Oh, 50. I was like, holy
Two more
cow.
sessions.
2 more sessions at 50. Okay. Wow. Awesome. That's still awesome.
But for the minutes, if you want about 250, that's fine. People will look back and be so impressed. So
Having done that program when my kids were younger, that's a really big number. That's great.
Yeah.
No, we're excited. We were able to do a midweek and a weekend. So I think that helped given both options. Speaking of ice skating, our men's league finished up without any issues at St. Mark's. So that was good. They got a full season in, and St. Mark's was able to help us with one more night so that they could do one more playoff game and a final. So that was great to see the adults back there for that one. Softball, as I've been mentioning, continues to grow. We're on the fringe of releasing all the information, working with all the other teams. Schedule's done, umpires are booked, uniforms, equipment, everything is in. So we're going to pull the trigger and get that public. So we're excited to see that take off. And then program wise, we're introducing an interview workshop for teens and tweens. So that'll be happening in 2 weeks. We'll be doing it, and we're kind of tacking on the idea of working with summer camp on top of it. So we've had small numbers. We're going to be pushing that this week. We announced it a long time ago, so we'll put some reminders. So fingers crossed.
One recommendation on that one, Tim, because it looked like a great program. It's smack in the middle of practice for those who do athletics or after school activities. You just couldn't, you can't miss any practices. So if it was like
week too.
if it was like a 5 or 5:30 or something, maybe just for next go around a little bit later would I think help, especially with the high school crowd.
That's a great point. So my brain was in winter mode, I guess. So.
Tim, on the inclusion sports, just backing up to that, is that registration already opened, and what's that looking like?
It's open. It's not exploding. There's plenty of space. We have a couple sessions that are definitely going to run, and we have other sessions that aren't running at all as of right now because we don't have many. So there's a lot of options. There's time options to make it easier for parents to hopefully pick what fits best. But right now we got plenty of space and plenty of time before that has to be finalized. And it's open to non-residents. Actually, Northborough is actually going to push it out for us as well. So we're hopeful that we'll get a pull from that crew as well, and that crowd in that town.
I think.
Where was I? Okay, so outside of programs, summer nights, we are well underway planning. For summer nights, Joe has booked all the food trucks already. So we have 12 food trucks lined up for summer nights, signed, sealed, delivered. Bunch of new ones that we're excited about as well. So we're about 60-40 returners to new. So it'll be good. We expanded that a little bit based on the crowd. Fireworks contract is in progress as well. Atlas said they'd love to come back. So they're just finalizing that on their end. So that planning, everything we wanted to get done early is pretty much done. So that's great. Summer bands are all booked. We had one drop out. So I think Joe filled that today. And then summer movies are just about finalized. We just need to decide on one more. So that will be announced and released. So that is good. And then looking towards the summer. So July is National Parks and Recreation Month across the country. And we intend on celebrating that to the best of our ability. So we are in the process of planning an entire month of free programs for the town through recreation and through other organizations and groups and boards and committees in town to have an offering every day of the week for July. So we're starting to work on that, and we will announce that late spring before July. So we are busy on the program side.
Okay.
And RAP's going on flawlessly, excellently. And we got one more session to plan, and that will be our return to outdoors, which will be great, but also our return to use of gymnasiums if all holds to where it's at right now, and sharing those with extended days. So the next RAP session should be much more diverse as we're starting to get back to normal, quote unquote.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have no questions and nothing to say. I don't know what you haven't covered.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well then, sorry, Mooney and Richardson. We got a little bit of traction, right? Something papers were moving. Okay.
Yeah, so Richardson, I think it was last meeting, as we were in the meeting, I got an email from National Grid requesting some documents be notarized by the clerk's office and sent in for scheduling. So we took care of that the next day, sent it off. Got an email yesterday from National Grid that they made a typo on that document, therefore making it null and void. So we needed to go through the whole process again, to which Ms. Braccio was gracious enough to come in this morning and take care of that one more time, sign it. Melanie notarized it, and then they allowed us to submit it electronically, as well as having to send it in physically. So that was the last piece. So they are going to now schedule us. Now that that's complete, we'll complete it in the system, and we'll get on the schedule for that to get connected at Miri for the tennis courts. Mooney continues to be a revolving door. We checked in. I used this contact for Richardson because, of course, it was someone different, to get in touch with the other contact for Mooney, because she wasn't in charge of that one, for the easements. And they were saying that they didn't receive the updated plans, even though we've submitted them multiple times with the engineer. So we resubmitted the plans for the easement, because there just was that pole issue that we had a couple months ago, actually last fall. I think November is when we actually met with them. So I resubmitted them, Art resubmitted them, and they have them. So we're just waiting for the same thing for the easement paperwork to go. But I saw Art last Friday, and I asked if he got any updates from them, and ever since submitting everything, they haven't heard back. So it's unfortunately the same old update that we're struggling on Mooney for some reason. I did talk to Dave Fialco about it. He came in the office, and I just explained that, we're working, town did everything that they can, and we're doing the best we can. So, hopefully now that we know where we are legitimately in the pipeline, we can hopefully try to push that ahead. But the good news is that it looks like, the tennis courts are going to be on sooner than later, hopefully for use this spring, and that'll be good.
Awesome. Okay.
Lander. Is that nice?
Yeah, we don't have any updates on that though, right?
We do.
How about that?
So we met with the contractor last Friday. We were able to get him out there. And so all the procedural stuff was taken care of, the kickoff meeting with Traverse and, going over contacts and everything of that sort was someone taken care of. Timeline to be determined. They're telling us one of their jobs down the Cape has been pushed back because they ran into weather last season. So their priority is to get the job down the Cape done, and then they're going to move up to us. But they're saying in the spring and seed in the ground late spring, early summer, which is what the plan would be. We went over everything. We walked the site. They saw the issues firsthand again. So they know everything that needs to be done. They didn't have any hesitation. The only hesitation they have is supplies, specifically with the PVC piping for drainage. We talked about alternatives. They have alternatives in mind. So it shouldn't be an issue. There's other sizes that, outside of what the scope of the project was that they could do, works just as fine. But it's just a matter of them finding it. It's just, I guess, been the biggest thing of PVC pipe to find. But they said they'll get it done. They don't foresee it holding up the project. We just may have to do a couple change orders of, items just based on what is available. But that's off and running. It was really good. It was good to see them. They're excited to be back. As you guys know, they did the Petrie, so they're excited to get this one. We like working with them. They like working with us, and we'll go from there. And if I'll add one more from them. So I have, just by chance, I have a history with North Turf from my last job. North Turf started as a golf company and then morphed into a baseball diamond company. They really were the company to go to for diamonds in their area. They're from North Attleboro. So when I was in Stoughton, I brought them in, and they did a few of my diamonds on the cheap, and they did them great. So I brought them over to Woodward after our meeting. If you guys know, you might be out there for soccer and seen it or just heard, Woodward has some pretty significant issues with drainage and grading that is last season at least was causing the field to be unusable even in the quickest of storms. So I brought them out there in hopes they could just take a peek and maybe, give me some idea of what it would take. And I didn't even have to say anything. They started telling me what was wrong with the field. So they saw it right away.
Is that where Tim, is that the residual? I mean, we're talking about when they put the lights in, right? I mean, basically that right down the foul line, or the first baseline of the,
down the foul line, but also now in the field, it's like bowled out for some reason.
Puddles. Yep.
It just puddles. And if you're walking out to the outfield, there's like a 1 foot decline going out of it. But anyways, so they knew exactly what they could do to fix the issue. And they said they'd love to do it. And they said it would cost very much under 10 grand. So it's not something we'd really have to go out for. And working, strategically with them with supplies, and DPW is going to help with disposal and things like that. So when they're in town for Calander, and they said it's going to be a day and a half to do what needs to be done. So when they're up here for Calander, they're going to tackle that as well, which will be great. So we can get use out of that field once again.
Is that gonna trigger capital committee?
No, it'll be less than 10,000.
Okay, it'll be, sorry, less than 10,000. Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah, so it'll be they're not scraping the whole field.
great. This
It's
can clean
mainly
it up
just
for
the
us.
outfield, the
Okay.
perimeter. It's all built. They're saying it's all built up stone dust that's been shoved into the soil. So they'll strip that, they'll regrade it, they'll add some material, take some material out, add some in, and then call it a day. Because I did explain to them that we could be blowing up that place in 5 to 10 years. So, they could do 10 times more, but knowing that, they said they could just fix it and it'll be more than usable. So.
Okay.
Hopefully that's okay that I took.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. And I mean, especially we're getting a lot more like use on that field and more like, yeah. And it's all, I mean, like, I feel like they're the teams that get screwed every time it rains, right?
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, the rest of our fields get wet or whatever, but that one, like you said, like it mists and there's a puddle on the field. So yeah. Yep. Awesome. Okay. So then, so we have, and now I can't remember what we're gonna talk about, but 9/11 fund finances.
I think that was a holdover from the last meeting.
Okay. Was there anything still we needed there or no? I think I forgot to
Nope.
delete it. Okay. All
No, I
right.
think the follow-up was, I think, we had some questions about the schedule. We had a couple, there was
Oh.
questions, the questions were answered, and I think we're
Yes.
good.
Yep, you're right. You're right. I forgot those emails. Yep. Okay. Anything from the space needs study? I think we were just waiting to see if that was gonna move or anything was going on.
Yeah, they pretty much, I think they hit the brakes hard on that one. Part of the reason why they're so delayed tonight with the selectmen meeting, they were interviewing candidates for the Miri building committee to take a look
Yep.
at that. So seems like that's gonna halt. There is an article on town meeting for the feasibility study stuff for Neary. So I think it's slowed down a little bit, but I remember, Kristen, when we were talking about it, you were curious on how that was going to affect master plan. I didn't know if you had a chance to chat with them about that, because I thought that was a really good point. You're frozen.
Frozen? Yeah, it looks like she's frozen.
He's frozen. Okay. So I looked through the master plan of what the draft was, and it just did, we talked about, as we have here, a community center. I just didn't know if that was going to reform into something else via master plan, or if that was going to check that checkbox, or just what it was being considered as.
Okay.
So
We can come back if she gets back online.
Yep.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll give her a minute because we don't have.
and now we just lost quorum.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, no Rachel
Okay,
tonight.
we're gonna give her more than a minute.
So Rachel is stuck in an airport trying to get home with her kid and family. She said like 7 hours delayed in the airport trying to get
Poor
home.
thing.
So yes.
Yikes. Poor thing.
Yeah. Like that is the last place I want to be with children. Oh.
She's back.
Awesome.
Hey guys, I'm back. I tried to get on video and that, and all the people on the internet. I had to go kick everybody off and get back on. I can't support video right now.
That's fine.
I'm gonna give you one of the library's hotspots next time we have a meeting.
And literally connected on me right when you were saying, and Kristen, I think you were asking about, and I'm like, what was I asking about? I missed whatever that was.
No, so I was just curious. I know last time we talked about the space needs, you were going to look into how that affects, or if master plan was considering the use of Woodward to take place of the talk of community, or if they had any stance on it.
Yeah, we talked about it the next night, and it definitely prompted some discussion. At the end of the day, where we arrived was that, because it's weird because this was supposed to be done last year, finishing it this year. But we ultimately agreed on a slight, like very slight wording change that should cover us. It was something to the effect of, I don't have it in front of me, but something to the effect of, that we believe we want to pursue, facilities or an alternative solution, just to give that wiggle room for if they decide to pursue Woodward. And we decided that was an acceptable alternative solution, we're kind of covered from that aspect. And then we all just, I think, acknowledge that we shouldn't just let it get stale. I mean, if things change, we should revisit what we put in there. So, yeah, we kind of closed that off. Is that it? Do you have any other questions on them? Yep.
All right. So then, I know, Tim, I saw you sent out a bunch of research around other local towns.
Yeah,
Around-
so, yeah, so I was kind of surveying our region per se, kind of the folks around us. And then I had the eureka moment. I was like, I swear to God that we did a survey of this through the association. So I was able to find it. So in 2020, we did a statewide survey of field user fees and what towns are doing town to town. So obviously this goes back to the baseball conversation that is continuing, and what we want to do moving forward with them. And I think that it's a mixed bag when you go through town to town. There's comparable towns that charge more than we do. There's comparable towns that don't charge at all for what we're looking at. But the other thing, and I talked to Dave. I've talked to Dave a couple times, and as recently as today. I did go on the other side of the fence as well, to the town side, and ask their feelings on the impact, because obviously these fees do impact the town regarding free cash and money going to general when it comes to grass fees. And they weren't too thrilled about it. They would want more information, more so if we were to, because it's a chunk of change. It's not a huge amount, but I was pulling the numbers. It's anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 a season just from baseball. And I think now that there's a merger, we could be, and the amount of kids again, we could potentially be seeing more towards that $4,000 to $5,000 per season. But before anything is strongly considered and anything is voted on our end, Mark and Brian did ask that we run it by them with reasoning of why we may think it's a good decision. So to continue that going forward with the most info possible, I talked to Dave and I asked him to actually itemize a list of their yearly expenses of what they actually put into the field historically. And I asked him to also tab out the larger renovations that they've done, to the fields that they've chose to do, especially with the softball field and majors and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll have that number, probably by the end of the week, if I know Dave, to kind of help consider or guide if we want to even reconsider the per player fee when it comes to baseball. But like you'll see in the survey, and I think it's a great document to have, and I think it's going to help us down the line, because if you flip to the end, it's also with turf. It's all the pricing with turf and whatnot. But it ranges from $1 a person up to $40 per player. Sometimes more. There's some towns that they give them the maintenance contract for the town and they make them pay it and they call it at that. So it's a mixed bag. I think every town has their own model. It's just, I guess, what we think is fair and how we wish to proceed with it. I know I usually come with a recommendation, but I don't really have a recommendation tonight.
That's fair. You said
with-
2.5 to 5K a season is what comes in
Right.
fees?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just for baseball.
Okay.
Yep.
I think what we agreed to last time, at least if I had my notes correct, was that we'd get this more information and then we have another working session with them. So the other thing we talked about last time, what we said, no, let's not proceed at this time, was also I think we had some questions potentially for legal counsel, but we thought it was premature on what we can and can't do. Maybe sequence of events would be get the finances, get back together with Dave, and then from that meeting, see if we have any questions around what we can and cannot do, given it's town-owned property.
Yeah, what we should do is we should check amongst ourselves as we go, though. because I don't, I mean, unless there's an appetite for it, any of the transfer of control options, I'm not interested in entertaining any of those, like from my
Same.
perspective.
Yeah. I don't think the town would for a second either.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're pretty much agreed there. I think so. So I guess the fees collected are actually, they're a lot lower than what I would have guessed. So I think it comes like, are they, like to your point, what are they asking of us? Are they asking for those fees to be waived?
I think that's their
Okay.
ideal situation. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you asked them some questions. Let's see what they come back with. Let's see if so just out of curiosity, Tim, I don't recall, we're not out of bounds. We're within the range.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. The next question I have is just, have we already contemplated, or do we have it on our list to contemplate who pays for the electricity?
Well, so you're saying for lights?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have it built in now to the permit. So the user group's
Okay.
responsible $15 an hour. So that would be.
Okay,
an
good.
incurred
I
cost.
just wanted to, I wasn't sure. I just forgot on that one. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, Jen, it's not I mean, I don't want to say it's nominal because it's something, but it's not
Yeah.
egregious. I don't
Yeah.
think. Now, again, maybe, look, if they come back with their preliminary head count, Tim, and all of a sudden we're raking in 10 grand. I don't think that's our desire either, right? But if we figure out a way to, and maybe that's where they're coming from, maybe they're projecting, like if they all of a sudden have an increase because of the merger and whatnot, that they could see the usage fees increase by an appreciable rate, even though they're not, it's not causing any additional expense to the town. You don't cut the grass more because there are more kids running on it. That's fair, I think. Like I don't think any of us are here trying to jack it up from that particular perspective, but I do believe that I just certainly understand where Mark and his team would be coming from the potential loss of funding to cover their expenses.
Unless you come and expect us to make up for it,
Right.
because the town's still going to do what they do out there, presumably. And so now we're saying, yep, keep doing that, but we're not going to give you $5,000 that we typically give you.
Right.
So now that $5,000 becomes $10,000 if they expect us to make up for it in some way. So I guess that'd be my question back to Brian and Mark, is that if we, given that they do put into the field maintenance that can be enjoyed by town as well, would they be looking to remain for that source of funding to be found elsewhere?
One thing
And that kind of puts in too, because we can't use revolving. Well, anyways, I won't go there, but.
The one thing they did say, and it's an important note, I don't know why I say it, is that Mark and Brian aren't willing to entertain it for next fiscal year. They said it's too soon to kind of take that hit and project losing that, as they're deep into it. So, it could be something, maybe not this season, but an implementation of something is, I think, more towards summer, fall, maybe. That would have more of an effect on FY24. So just to keep in mind.
Yeah, that gives us a chance too to sort of look, like I said, if their numbers are expected to spike appreciably and they're concerned about maybe, let's say, a doubling of the fee, like that we certainly can, I think, work with them on, if that's really if that's the impetus. So because I don't think that's our intent.
Mm-hmm. And my guess is that it's going to spike because they did absorb softball, and softball's growing exponentially compared to previous years. So I'm sure that fee is going to go up as well, because historically softball paid their own way, and that was close to $1,000 on their end. So.
Can you give an appreciation for what lacrosse and or soccer might put in, because this could also set a precedent that could get us in some hot water?
Well, I think it could set a precedent, but at the same time, I don't think it can because the other sports, no offense to them, they don't do nearly as much as baseball does. So I think there's an argument there. But, lacrosse they are more heavy on 9/11. They only use Trottier infield for games and practices outside of 9/11. So, it's not, and they only give us the names of those teams. With baseball, you're talking about an entire complex. So they pay for every single kid. With lacrosse,
Right.
they pay for the feet that hit the field. So that number is relative to that. Soccer's soccer. So they're everywhere. We know it. So that chunk is obviously bigger just because they have the most kids, but not that they don't, I'm not trying to diminish what they do for the town, but they don't facility wise. The town cuts those fields, the town, maintains everything. They pay for the lights as the agreement is, and they pay for the kids. So,
Got it. Agreed.
So, well, I guess when we'll see whatever they come back with, and then maybe, yeah, I feel like one of our meetings, we probably should kind of deep dive this with them, but knowing that
Yeah.
not anything we can impact immediately, but we can deep dive the conversation, and walk through it. And maybe we even invite like Brian to join us that night, just have one conversation, to at least get everything out there and then figure out how to move forward.
Yeah, I'm hoping once we have the numbers too in hand of maintenance, we can kind of quantify what they spend. And if we were to make an adjustment, it could be based on that. So it's fair. So.
Yep.
And I mean, not to get into it, I mean, I do appreciate more, I think more than anything what they do with that complex, but at the same time, we just dumped $250,000 in on lights. So
Yep.
I think it's a give and take that we need to be delicate on. But yeah, gather all the info is what I'm thinking, and then we'll go from there. So.
Yep. Makes sense. All right. Next up, we had CPA projects on our list.
Yeah, you want to take that? You did the meeting. So.
Yeah, I think so we presented the asking CPC to cover the cost of the tennis courts at the Finn Mooney fields there. There's a lot of questions because once upon a time that was asked for, but the money was never spent there. Because you're not allowed to go back and ask for a project a second time. So, but we clarified that in the meeting. They dug up an old email from Doreen saying that, yes, the money was approved, but nothing was ever spent there. So the work was never done on that field. So I think general sentiment was in support. Then the next day, right, Tim, we got an email from the company we got a quote from saying that the costs are going up, right?
Yeah. So there's a potential the costs are going up, obviously, because of supply. So I did request the requote. I have not heard back for them yet. But that's going to range anywhere, like you saw, from 5 to 10% up to 30 to 40%. So
yeah,
it'll be substantial. It could not be. So I'm just waiting on that. I'll make a note to poke them tomorrow. So.
Yeah, because then we can get that because I actually don't know when the dates for the warrants are all due, but CPC hasn't actually voted on any of the wording of any of the warrants yet. So I'm assuming that will have to be done soonish. But yeah.
Yep. And then that's what I'm going in front of tonight with selectmen. They wanted to talk about that. So.
Gotcha.
Maybe hesitant to bring up the increase without a number, but I may just passively mention it.
Yep, that's fine.
Just hope, I mean, we built in that contingency, right? 10%, so you never know. That could cover it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fine for that. I had on here, Denise's backfill.
Yeah, so Denise officially submitted to the town. She's gonna cut back to 6 hours a week. She already started, so we're happy she's still there. Wish she would do more, but that's okay. So Joe and I went back and forth about it, what we wanted to do, and what we're gonna try first off is we're gonna try to fill it as an intern position, is what we were hoping, a spring and summer intern. There's multiple programs around us when it comes to rec and sport. So we worked with Vanessa to make sure we could do that within the guidelines of the SAP, and we could. And so we put together a description on that. And well, actually we didn't. I mean, we just used the description what we had within the SAP that fit the needs. And so we started putting some feelers out on that. Not great feedback from professors and whatnot due to student body count, but we do have the Massachusetts Rec and Park Association annual conference next week down on the Cape, and I'm actually chairing a roundtable with students, so I'm going to kind of slide the application and we'll see what we can get. So we'll kind of put our feelers out probably for another month or so and see if we get any bites, but if not, we'll post just as the admin, part-time admin position, and try to fill it just as a regular, Denise replacement. We will need the help during the summer, so we want to make sure we have a body in that chair over the summer. And
Tim,
we'll go with that.
Are you advertising that within the town? Like on the Sobo page?
Not yet, no.
But I think you could get a lot. I mean, I don't know. I understand you're probably sourcing from particular schools. I don't know. Just an idea if you're not getting bites. I understand there's an expertise they're looking for.
Mhm.
But you never know, and there might be someone in town who would be attracted to it because obviously they're citizens of the town.
Yeah, I think our goal is to, we're looking for a student who's looking to do credit type deal for school. I think if we get to the point of it just needing the admin piece, that will 100% be put up on the town site. So we'll be a little selective where we put it at first, and then we'll open the search.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We were gonna, I think we're gonna revisit the tennis courts, rentals for private lessons, like policy and fees.
Yeah. So again, I was that guy, and I was just sending out surveys to everybody. But I put a survey out. I sent you guys the results, and it didn't help that it was literally split 50-50. But just what towns do when it comes to private rentals. I know that our demand is going to increase once those lights go on. Our demand has increased already without the lights, just with everyone getting back outside because of COVID. And I think I have an internal battle of, is this a facility that we're looking to rent out privately for people to, charge and use for lessons and things of that nature. We're reintroducing tennis at the next wrap session that's already lined up. So, we'll be using it after school hours, which takes one court away. So, you're already down to two once school gets out. So if we were to rent it out, if someone wants to use it for lessons, you're down to one, and then you got a whole town fighting over one. So I just, I wish I had a recommendation on this one, but I just want to, get your guys' feel on, renting out those courts officially. I know some towns do, some towns don't. First come, first serve, outside of recreation sponsored program, town sponsored programming. So I didn't know if you had thoughts or if you had historical context on what was decided in the past, or, and we'll be getting another one back online at Thin. So
yeah, I saw that Facebook post, which had me switching my opinion for a second, where, obviously people in town expressed interest in tennis lessons. And then I'm like, well, okay, maybe, we see that clearly there's an interest here. And I read the record, but then I thought about it more, and to your point, is something we just don't have a lot. And it just seems almost unfair, especially to kids who aren't going to know to coordinate a lesson and, go out. And yeah, and I think I shared, and I might be a little biased, but my kids will just randomly go down to Finn, right? and they kind of accept it's okay, it's in use. And I think people actually are pretty good at self-regulating too, right? Like the amount of time that they stay on a site as support. The second you start introducing rental, we just don't have a lot of them. I feel like to even consider it. And I hate to think of the people who could miss out. And then the more I thought about it too, is if people are that interested in lessons, they have a million places they can go to lessons around here. Furthermore, maybe we just need to introduce another recreation for adults for Southborough citizens for tennis. Like there's other avenues they have. It's not like we're cutting it off. This would be the cheapest and easiest for them. But again, now you're taking that away from potentially kids. And we've just got so few that and then introduce pickleball at Finn and forget it, right? So I'm still not in favor of it. I think it also creates a lot of complications because now we need policies, et cetera. And again, for probably for the citizens who want a class, it's a smaller majority. And then for the people who are outside and maybe offer private lessons, I'm not like that interested in lining their pockets. I'm more interested in our citizens having use of the tennis courts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I also wonder, like, how do we regulate it? How do we monitor it? How do we, like, if someone's got a permit to be on there, like, do they need to print it out and bring it with them? And like, yeah.
And that's the headache of it. I mean, I think we know they're used the most on the weekends when no one's in town, in my office at least.
Yep.
But we do have people who are frequent users down there. We know them. And they'll go down and they'll want to play, and they let us know, someone had 5 kids on one side and they were doing lessons, and, they had a ball cart and there was 100 balls everywhere and all that stuff.
Yep.
We track them down and we take care of that. We've done that multiple times. And we find people are charging exorbitant, like Kristen said, exorbitant amounts of money. People put everything on Facebook, so it's not hard to track down. But anyway, so, I mean, that's part of the issue. We don't have a park ranger per se that goes around and checks permits. I think down the line, that's a pipe dream of mine, but, checks permits and make sure that everyone who's using the fields and the courts in an organized fashion are permitted and paid and insured and all that stuff. So I think no matter what, we'll still get them, but it's just a matter if we're going to be welcoming to them. And to your point, Kristen, you're right. I mean, some of these towns like Worcester, he was saying they have like 18 to 20 courts. So yeah, that makes sense. Maybe that would be different, but we only have 4, soon to be 5. So hopefully.
I don't have a contrary view. I mean, the only thing I would have thought is there certain times that, it's lower use and you'd want to open it up for them. Like, look, it's a necessary evil. We know people want to do it. So we've designated for our purposes that between the hours of blah and blah, we will allow it to happen. But that doesn't solve the issue of if they're paying you to use the field to charge somebody else, have they signed a waiver? Or do they have enough? Like, you're basically making yourself a party to that transaction. We know that the organizations that we deal with, soccer, lacrosse, baseball, all have that framework in place. And so that mitigates the risk for us for those types of operations.
Mm-hmm. And I do like the thought of hours, permitting between, in the morning or something like that. But I think that works more favorably during the school year, and once summer opens up, it could be a whole different monster. So,
right. And again, the pickleball will be a game changer there, because now all of a sudden mornings may not be so slow.
Yeah.
I mean, if you drive by that Westboro pickle court park or whatever you call them, and I've driven by in the mornings because going to sports or whatever, it was packed.
They were out there shoveling the snow off of the courts a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see the demand from our citizens just double. And to put your point, we're coming out of COVID. It just doesn't feel like the right time to cut people off from access. And I guess I'll say I feel probably pretty strongly about this one. Again, to your point, if we had 18, different story. But you're lucky if you get on them, you know, at prime time now. So
I think, so going off everybody's points. So Kristen, would you be more in favor of just no private permitting at all? Or would you be in favor of outside of maybe summer months, you know, permitting in the morning? And then
I think I'm
Neary
probably-
only because Finn opens a different can.
Well, and also like, do the schools courts? I thought they did, but I'm actually right now in favor of not changing anything, not permitting, and then when we put in the pickleball courts, or even starting now, we don't have to wait for the pickleball courts. Figure out a way that maybe we can get a little bit more. And I don't know how to do this, to your point, because you don't have a ranger. Kaylin will happily report to us during school hours. She loves to call people out, but you know, maybe we can put our heads together and come up with a way where we could get a slightly better idea of current usage. I don't know what the answer to that is right now, although we'll certainly give it some thought, because I just, right now, my biggest concern is not, you know, we're coming in, people are psyched, Friday's going to be warm, you know, we're coming into the season. I feel something feels weird about giving up a possible recreation opportunity for some in favor of others making a profit, or being able to schedule and reserve this for them, even though other people don't have the right to reserve it without money.
I can say I think I agree with you, Kristen. I think that's my initial feeling on it.
And maybe that's really it for me. Like, it's favoring those who have money to actually do this. So I guess that's it, Jen.
You know, I was
Okay,
just
yeah.
no, you're fine. I was just wondering, I mean, if someone's got a private coach, they're gonna go show up and play anyways, right? So like, and I guess like, and I think that bothers me less than like a coach like scheduling a bunch of sessions back to back, right? So like, I'm fine if like a private citizen has a coach and they go down and use the courts, but thinking we should be focused more on like the people that are literally scheduling out their business on our courts. We should make sure they're getting kicked off. Yeah.
And that happened. That's what really triggered this for me. We had a gentleman who put a huge Facebook post out about he was going to run a summer camp on our courts. He's charging like $500 a week or something like that. And,
You're kidding me.
yeah.
Wow.
So that was a fun phone call. So,
Wow.
okay. I mean, do we want to, how about this? How about I put something together, like a policy of some sort, and then maybe circulate it for next meeting. We can vote on it.
Sounds good.
Here's the other piece too. So obviously schools can use them. That's fine during school hours. We get requests from Fay and St. Mark's to use them. And I know they have their own courts, but they have overflow. Are we willing to be good neighbors on that one for like one court? I'm not saying they're going to take over everything.
But I mean, it goes back to their scheduling stuff, right? I mean, have they been specific in what they're asking for?
Yeah. AKA anything we
Like
can give them they want. So
That's not very specific. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's putting it
Like
the onus
soccer.
on us to figure out what we're willing to carve out.
I mean, they even said, I mean, they're happy with one court. They're happy with 3, obviously. So
But they can now, right? And we can't go onto their courts, can we?
yes, but no. I mean, so one of the things we're in works is we're looking to bring back the spring summer rec league down at Fay because they have 8 courts by the townhouse. We got approval for them to do that. So they are letting us use them to an extent once a week. So I don't think they do
I
that
think,
in a bribe way.
Right. I think if we're not going to allow folks to rent it to be able to keep it open to the public, then we shouldn't be renting it to Fay. Like it probably should be across the board, right? Because it's doing the same thing, right? It's tying up the courts. So
Yeah, I just think it's an unfair advantage to people outside that group. We only have, like, again, for 2 sports, we have 5 courts. Well, we don't even have 5 courts right now. We hope to have 5 courts. So it just seems like unfair to those who aren't part of that, those organizations who aren't paying someone to take away any of that. It just doesn't feel right now to me personally. And honestly, it's not to not be a nice neighbor, but it's more to be
Fair.
and nice to the masses, I guess.
The only other comment I'd make, Tim, is if there was demand for more tennis programs or tennis-like programs, and maybe that means we should try to schedule more tennis programs if that's, a need or there's a demand in the town for that.
Yeah, and that's the avenue that on my side we're going down right now. So kids programs will be on Mondays come the spring. We're looking at an adult program with the same instructor. She's trying to get us dates of when she thinks she can do them, different styles of adults, men's, both, mothers leagues, things like that. So we're kind of try to, now that we can again, and now that we got Joe, we're going to try to kind of maximize our use of that instructor, and she wants to. And then, like I said, returning the drop-in league with the help of Faye. I know that's a huge league, or has been traditionally. So hopefully getting back into it and expanding is what we're seeing and wanting to do.
Yeah, and we may see the need for more drop-in type activities, especially if pickleball gets going or whatever. We may need to put some more structure around it so that people know they can go and it's open and round robin or whatever, or just like pick up basketball and like.
Yep.
mm-hmm.
And this kind of begs, not for discussion today, but maybe, when we start capital planning or revisiting our capital plans, like, do we need more courts? And is there anywhere that they could go in? Demand's only going to increase with pickleball.
Yeah. We're running out of space.
Yeah, can't put it on Lundblad. That wouldn't be a good idea. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you need some sort of it'd be nice if there was some sort of town parking lot somewhere, or a couple parking lots that weren't
Yeah, we can use that airfield out at Colander. It's a few bucks. You could buy that.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that property that Sam was eyeing behind, like, Southborough House? It was a weird parcel that he saw free, that he was wondering if it should be a park or something. He brought it to us, I think, last year. Maybe Tim been before you, I'm not sure. But there was, again, we don't need to discuss it tonight, but
Is that the National Grid parcel?
I think so. Either or the train CSX.
Yeah, I know they're trying to use ARPA funds to get the National Grid parcel. That's one of the proposals. So to be town owned. So that may be that. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like what I'm thinking about. So again, obviously not something for tonight, but something to think about in the back of our heads.
Yep. Yep. All right, so I'll write up something and I'll send it around. And we can, I guess, vote on it officially next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Jen, next thing I had was the ARPA fund update. Is that right?
Sorry, I'm on mute here talking to myself.
Oh.
Yes, I was like, I just said that, Tim. Yeah. Yes, go for it.
No, so we, based on our discussion last go around, we submitted for the small potato stuff with ADA, 20,000 for that, water fountains, picnic tables, smaller pieces. And then we did put in our intention with Lundblad, explanation of our hope for a multi-purpose, but with the understanding that a price is to come, based on the fact that we're in the midst of a study. It did make the official list. There's a survey going out in the town right now. Lundblad is on that list. And I believe ADA is on that list, more overarching, because I know John and facilities went after ADA money as well with ARPA. So it is being considered. So that's all it is. I have no idea what the timeline is. I can't get a sense of when decisions are going to start to be made. There's big ticket items on their list. There's massive ticket items on their list. And then there's really small stuff. So curious on how that's going to go. They're a really active committee and they seem to be meeting every week on everything. But we're on their list. Everything was received and considered. And then it sounds like hopefully we'll have Activitas back in within a month and we'll have some hard numbers and we can either make a presentation or just send them an updated draft of what we're looking at. I guess we'll keep that as a standing item. And go as we go.
That works. Anything else to raise? We're
But
good?
just a bad sign that they still haven't texted me to go into the selectmen meeting.
Oh, it's gonna be a late night, huh?
And I was on the first batch of appointments. So.
Yes. All right, so then I think we just need to approve our meeting minutes from February 15th that Kristen sent around.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 16th as presented.
I think I put February 15th.
Oh, from the date appropriate.
Yeah. I think it was the 15th. That's what I had in my agenda. So
Yeah.
that works. All right, so I'll second that. So then a roll call vote. Hanson, yes.
Dumont, yes.
Well, yes.
All right, and then so our next meeting was scheduled for the 12th of April. Do we want to see if Activitas can do that date, Tim? And if so, we'll keep it. If not, we could bump it back a week.
How does that compare to April vacation? Not that I know.
Yeah. April, what's that, 19? Actually, if we push it back,
April 19th is the week of school vacation.
yeah, so yeah, maybe we can't bump it back, but maybe they can do the 12th.
Yeah, I'll let them know.
Okay. Cool.
Great.
All right, we can
All
call it
right,
done.
I just got summoned, so I'm leaving.
Perfect
Good luck.
timing. All right, good night, guys.
And
Thanks
thank
all.
you.
Yeah. Have a good
Bye.
night.
Bye.